Good evening and welcome to Fantastic Dimensions. This is Harbinger, Ascension, Let There Be War. The setting is on the moon of Tharkestra, the home of House Trithon, the sovereign sept of Bastion and the moon orbits. This is 200 years before the arrival of the Harbinger. And Tharkestra at this time is an overpopulated, extremely advanced, heavily industrialized moon. Pollution is extremely thick and heavy. The city, the sky is constantly dark with the smoke from all the factories and the city pollution itself. It's a time of oppression. Sept Trithon are known for their brutal ways. After all, they became the first sovereign of the known orbits through a military dominance of the other moons. Deep in the capital city of Tharkestra Prime, in a run-down, dark, dirty neighborhood, down several dark, twisting alleyways. In the distance, you can see the neonish lights of the main streets, and the trade shops, the restaurants, the bars. But here, down these dark, twisting alley paths, there is a door, a metal door of a green color, covered with grime and soot, maybe even some bloodstains. Standing outside this door are two very large men in long brown coats, obviously carrying large auto rifles, quite plainly outside of their coats. And beyond this door, there is a decent-sized room lit by a single glow lamp hanging from the ceiling in the middle. The ceiling itself is probably only 10 feet high. And there is a large, round wooden table, also to match the neighborhood, quite worn, quite abused, lots of marks on it from various use, whether it's carvery and cutlery and plates and glasses and card games and everything else that this table has been used for. And sitting on one of the chairs, straight across from the door at this table, there is a man. He's wearing a blue and white robe. It is extremely highly decorated. It looks completely out of place in this room. This man looks like a man of wealth and a man of importance. He's got dark olive complexion. His hair is cut very short and is salt and pepper almost throughout. He's got a short trimmed goatee as well. He looks to be a man of about his late 40s, perhaps. This man is Administrator Amir Haradi of Sept Alzareen, a servant house to Sept Trithon. And he is the person who has organized this meeting. He has invited members of 4 other Major Septs throughout the known orbits to discuss the upcoming revolution that that the Sept that he represents in this capacity are planning against the abusive and corrupt sovereign. The first person to arrive down this, coming down the alleyway towards the door, and I'll allow you to do your own character introductions, so you can, I will do that. You can describe your character as you approach and describe what you'll say to the 2 guards sitting outside if you like. So Lloyd, I'm going to let you go first. Go ahead and tell us who your guy is. Give us a full description. Take your time.
Sure. So there's like this sort of whirring noise, which is followed by like a deep sort of beat every second step as the bionic leg does its best to compensate, bringing Praetor Wulfric down this path. He is looking straight ahead of him, uncomfortable at the sort of clandestine nature of this meeting, feeling a little bit less than forthright about it. He walks down this long, dark alleyway, smells assault his nose of all the foul things that are made here, be they cheap food or cheap drugs. But he continues down this hallway and gets to the two gentlemen who are protecting the door. Now, Wulfric is large. He's wearing nothing too fancy, more of like a functional tunic that ends, kind of turns into a robe towards the base of his legs. He's got a pauldron on his right shoulder, this blood red pauldron, which is well known throughout the orbits. This man was once a Grimoire Rager. Maybe he still is, and he wears it with pride. So he approaches these two guards and he gives them a look up and down. You can see, or we zoom in to see what he sees. He's got this overlay up, this heads-up display, and it quickly darts around like beep, 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 like taking in threats in front of him. You can see the rifles. You can see the smaller arms hidden on these men through their coats. It gives him like a rough estimate of their weight and their height, and it takes all of this in really quickly. And then he says, "I'm here to see the representative from Sept Alzareen." The men kind of nod grimly, and the metal sort of greenish door opens, and with more of a he enters into this room, sort of dark, lit by a single glow globe. He looks around, and again, this eye takes in all the exits and potential entrances, scans the room for potential threats. Seeing none, he looks and he sees Administrator Haradi. He gives him a look. He nods his head. He takes the tip of his index and middle finger. He puts them to his own forehead in a sort of greeting, and gestures to one of the chairs. "May I?"
Administrator Haradi doesn't stand up, but he gestures with his hand and says, "Please. You must be Praetor Wulfric."
"I am. And you are Administrator Haradi." He takes a step, and the servos whir loudly as he lowers himself into the chair. There's a bit of a creak.
"You are the first to arrive, but hopefully the other three shall be along shortly."
"Yes.
I would offer you some refreshment, but, well, supplies are sparse and I wasn't able to bring anything with me."
You see, he kind of looks around. Well, always be prepared. Reaches into his robe and he pulls out a hip flask which he places on the table. "Are there cups?"
No, I'm afraid not.
"I see." He unscrews the tip and he takes a drink and places it back down and closes it again.
Excellent. The next representative to arrive will be your character, John. So if you'd like to go ahead and give us your own entrance and description. You'll have to unmute yourself to do so, though, of course.
Yeah, I'm doing it. From the shadows, behind a cloak, just beyond view of the two guards, the cloak passes to the side, and Duke Jard steps forward, notes the large individual going through the door, waits for him to pass, steps up, hands forth his marker, not truly an invitation, but the requested marker. Doesn't say much, just waits for them to identify it. Duke Gerard. A little uncomfortable with the title, but
the guards check it quickly and nod to you and open the door for you to enter.
when the door opens, he waits a moment, takes in the difference of the light and the smells, and steps forward slowly, cautious of the door, make sure no one's behind it without being too obvious. Scans the room slowly and takes note of who's in there.
Yeah, you see just the administrator sitting straight across from you at the table, and then I think, did you say which side you took a seat on, Wolfric?
I think he would have tried to take a seat facing the door on the way in, if that's possible.
Okay, so he's probably, I'm going to say, kind of just to the, well, as he's facing you, he's just to the right of the administrator.
Once the door is closed, he will draw his ironbone glaive and main gouge with scabbard intact and hold them out with his left hand to note that he's presenting his weapons. And he'll walk forward and look for a place to sit. And
you can sit either to the left of the administrator or to the right of Wolfric, or opposite them if you want to have your back to the door.
And exactly what he's going to do. He will make his gracious nod and partial bow to either, and then choose the obvious choice of the one with my back to the door, making a point of it.
I'm sorry, did you give us a physical description of Duke Gerard?
6 foot, 180, about 25, dark hair, a handful of different braids, as is per his family's tradition. He has the ornate ironbone glaive and the main gouge there. He's got a combination of silks and various eel skin leathers. Ceremonial and artistic in his approach, certainly not refinements of court. And various small bone fetish pieces, hand carved, and more interesting than formal.
And the administrator kind of nods his head in your direction and says, "You must be Duke Gerard of Sept Alzareen."
Yes, sir. Very much so. Although I'm sorry that my brother could not attend, but he finds himself permanently occupied.
There's like a grunt from Wolfric.
I am Administrator Haradi of Sept Alzareen, and this gentleman here is Praetor Wolfric of Sept Grimar.
Nice to make your acquaintance.
And with you, curiously looks over at the Praetor. Have you had much dealings with my house, with the Sept?
Not directly.
I see. Well, he'll take his seat and just act casual and taking it all in.
Excellent. Next to arrive will be you, Nick. So if you would like to likewise describe your character and your entrance to the scene. Were you here for the description of the area?
Yep, certainly. Yeah, so not too long after you've made your entrance, Duke Henri, there's like a soft footfall, like a pitter-patter of feet approaching the door behind, soft words like mumbled by the wall and door between you guys, room and without, and before too long it opens up, and there's a petite figure before you, quite tiny, shorter than all of you, encased in a translucent kind of shell that like fits her form snugly, about the top of which there is a glass that you're not sure where the her hair, or if it's a wig, starts, and where the clothing goes all the way down to her feet, but it's all made from glass. And when it's hit directly by light, you can see that you can slightly see through it to a like naked form beneath. But it's the strange garb of the Inua people. She kind of, I guess if you ever moved a chandelier, that's what it sounds like when she walks, like the gentle clattering of all these delicate pieces of this armored dress that looks like it might shatter when it hits the floor as she like hitches her skirt walking down the stairs into the room. But when it hits the ground, there's just like the soft glacial sounds and kind of this slightly uneasy like scraping sounds of a few tips of it as it kind of carries behind her in a train as she jinks and jangles up towards what she assumes to be her place and bows at a complete right angle and then raises herself up to her full diminutive height. Lets her glass dress settle, and you can notice like the ripples about it. See that her face is clad with this same translucent shell, dotted with cybernetics. You're not sure where the makeup, the cybernetics, and the girl herself begin and end. So interwoven are they? After greeting you formally, like bowing halfway down, and then meeting you each in the eyes, she introduces herself and says, "I am Conciliator Miu of Clan Anua. I come at the Supreme Matriarch's behest."
And the gentleman sitting straight across from the door, it's a round table, so it's not exactly the head of the table, but he's chairing the meeting, says, "I'm Administrator Amir Haradi." And he actually stands up and he bows slightly to you. He says, "This is Praetor Wolfric of Sept Grimar and Duke Gerard of Sept Ruldo."
Wolfric repeats that gesture, taking the two fingers of his right hand and like touching his forehead towards Mio.
She looks between the three men, eyes finally settling upon Duke Gerard.
Duke gives a slight bow and a nod.
And then she'll close her eyes slowly, and then you can all kind of hear it over just barely over like the hum of the room or the electricity or whatever it is that powers it all. It's the sound of her breathing out as far as she can, as much as her lungs will allow her to expel. And then she breathes in long and slowly, audibly and unashamedly, till she is full of breath. And then her eyes open. "Shall we begin?"
The administrator is tapping on a device attached like a bracer on his arm. He says, "I believe we can. I have just received word that the representative of Sept Larkin has been delayed and does not know if he will be able to make it to our meeting. So, if it is okay with you gentlemen," and he gestures to Wolfric and Gerard.
It's troubling that this representative cannot make it. We are here under great secrecy, and having someone know of this meeting and not being here is troubling.
Indeed. Well, I can tell you that a great amount of money has been paid for his discretion. Perhaps he may yet arrive. We shall see. But, as you said, this meeting is of a very clandestine matter, and here, in Thorkestra Prime of all places, it is probably important that we move with haste. Any opposed?
In answer
None.
to that, Mingo presses at a brooch at her left shoulder, and her like gown and robe begin to up in on itself until there's just kind of like a tightly snug form kind of synth suit that she wears, and she'll take a seat with like perfect posture, signaling with her body language that it makes no difference that the other representative is not here. They must continue.
Very well then. As you all should have been briefed, you should know the purpose of this meeting. My sept has long served under House Trithon here on Orchestra. But the weight of rule has come down too heavily upon us. The Trithon have become complacent, content that they have squeezed all the resistance out of the other septs in the known orbits. We aim to show them that this is not the case. We, Sept Alzareen, believe in a better future for Bastion. You see the state of the orchestra. You see the polluted skies, dirty streets, the poverty in the city itself. You understand, all of you have seen these effects on your worlds, if not through direct war itself. And he looks over at Praetor Wolfric when he says that, because, as you know, the Grimar took quite a bit of fighting before they were eventually brought under control. Then you have something else to protect from the future industrialization and colonization of your own worlds. And he looks over at Matriarch Inua, or sorry, Facilitator Inua. Each of you is here because your houses are powerful in one way or another, whether it's through military might or resources, technology, skills, contacts. Each of you has something to offer to the effort. I have invited you here to discuss the plans going forward and to make any necessary concessions and arrangements so we all understand what we stand to benefit and gain as a result of this rebellion. Aside from our own freedom, of course, but it's quite obvious and it's quite known to my people that each of you have concerns of their own that they would wish resolved. Alzareen is ready to offer everything they can to help you solve these issues and to make sure that the future of Bastion is one that is also amenable to your own great houses. As I am chairing this meeting, I will ask you each to go in turn, and you can, of course, inform us of any extra resources which you may be able to provide, and please let us know of any additional issues that you have that you would like to see resolved as a compensation for your assistance in this war. I believe, and my house believes, that together we can overthrow the military might of Trithon. It will be dirty. It won't be a straight fight, of course, and it will go across the entire known orbits. Trithon have bases and colonies on every single moon at this stage. So we all have something to gain and something to lose. Praetor Wolfric, your people are known for their military prowess and their resolve, their unwillingness to be tamed. I am certain that you do not find the yoke of Trithon comfortable. Please, address us. Tell us, what will it require to bring you into this rebellion?
It's true. I and many others of my sept chafe under the rulership, the tyranny, the domination of this house. I find it very difficult. Many of us feel the same way. We have not been tested for quite some time. We have sat, and I feel that we too have become complacent. We have not been challenged in an all-out war in too long. But it seems to me also that if this agreement were to go ahead, that it would be Sept Grimar who suffer the brunt of the onslaught, who would be at the front line of every battle, who would take most of the casualties. And so you can see it's a difficult predicament. We do have the finest soldiers in the known orbits, and we have proven experience in resisting Trithons. And yet still it's a very difficult decision. Our moon is well, it is natural, and it is a harsh world, but nonetheless it is clean. And it is free, and there is open space, a lot of it. That is not something that I want to change. It is not something that Sept Grimar is comfortable with. However, it is an icy world and a bitter world. Nothing grows. And so perhaps a new home, somewhere where children can play outside, somewhere that you can hunt and feel the air on your face. That would be a prize worth having.
So you seek an environment better for raising your future. Someplace where you can grow food and hunt. Yes?
Yes, there is a disturbing tendency among many of these Trithon leaders and rulers to take a place, a planet, a moon, and to rip everything from the inside and to leave it a husk, a ruinous husk. That is not what Sept Grimar does, and we cannot condone it. So, a new place to live, yes, but also laws in place and guarantees that similar behaviors will not happen on natural paradises.
It is known that there are many other septs, smaller perhaps, less influential than each of your own. Or there are other septs and other moons that will support Trithon in this effort. It will require military action as well as subterfuge and sabotage to bring them under our own control. Many of these great houses will be displaced, I'm certain, if this is successful, when it is successful, as will Trithon itself. What if we were to offer you a nearby moon so that your house may rule over your own as well as another? You can do with the denizens there as you wish, whether you wish to make them your own subjects or servants, or if you wish to migrate them to the rings, we can put them to work. After all, seeing as they will be supporting Trithon in this war, when it is won, they will be, well, it'll be they.
Captives.
Exactly.
Helots. Slaves.
Traitors. Yes, threats to our own sovereignty and threats to all of our freedom. Would this help to persuade you, Praetor?
It would, although there will be many of these traitorous moons. And as I say, Sept Grimar will suffer the brunt of the casualties. We will need many new people, many new conscripts, many new places in which to spread. And he kind of leans back in his chair, and there's this like wolfish grin that comes across his face.
What if we were to offer to you the moon of Dorian? It's quite close to your own. It is vibrant with life. It has forests and oceans and great plains in which you may grow your crops. The Sept there, Sept Trithon, are known to be one of the greatest supporters of Trithon. They've made some kind of a deal, I presume, because they seem to be less hit with the industrialization of most other moons, even including your own, Wolfric.
Long of my people looks towards that paradise moon and thought, we struggle here while they lay in the sun. That would be appropriate, I believe.
Indeed. Dorian currently is one of the favored holiday moons, I guess you could say, for House Trithon. The men go there for their rest and relaxation. It is a veritable paradise, and quite large as well.
I believe that would be appropriate, and yet Sept Trithon has many advanced technologies, weapon systems, ships, things of that nature that we, for all our ferocity, have not been able to create. As part of this deal, I would presume that this kind of information will be shared freely.
Of course, you want more advanced weaponry and technology.
Indeed.
We will be able to help with some of that through our own clandestine operations, seeing as we are currently one of the more trusted servant houses to House Trithon. We hope to secure a good number of resources before we're completely found out and the war reaches its pitch. However, our resources too will be limited, so we may have to look to some of our allies. And he looks over to Duke Gerard. Says, for example, it is known that Sept Wildo controlled the Iron Bone. The Iron Bone could be used for manufacturing of many weapons and armor and tools and things that could be used by your people. And he looks over to Lady Inua. The Inua are known to have some of the most advanced robotics technology, stealth technology, and I'm certain many other cutting-edge technologies that may also be able to assist us. Perhaps in the interest of unity, they would be willing to put something forward on the table for House Grimon.
Wolfric grins and he shifts in his seat, and there's this loud sort of whir as his ancient mechanical leg tries to compensate. And he says, we would be particularly interested in more advanced cybernetics. Soldiers oft lose limbs.
What do you say, Lady Mio?
Should an agreement be reached and appropriate terms drawn up, Sept Inua will wholeheartedly provide to the rebellion effort. It is very much a fight for survival, she says. And so all will be given. Should the Sept of Inua be swayed by my words from this council that we should go to war?
Very well. Thank you for your time, Praetor Wolfric.
Of course.
All of these things have been taken note of, and we will see to making arrangements to acquiesce to your terms.
One more thing, if I may, Administrator.
Yes.
We have among our troops, and he sits back and he thinks about if he's going to say it or not. He thinks about it and he says, yes, we have a growing number of soldiers with exceptional abilities that we do not fully understand. It seems to me that other houses are more confident with this sort of mutation, I suppose you would call it.
You're referring to your Astro wielders.
Indeed.
Yes, we have people who have been very interested in the developments on your world. It is known that our sept, although we are servants to Trithon, we are perhaps the most advanced when it comes to the use of the Astra, manipulating it, finding new ways to implement it in times of war and peace. Some instruction,
You guys
I
would
think.
be able to see visibly on Mio's features that speak of manipulating the Astra, and especially using it for war. Like as you can see in my overlay, the middle part of her face, which isn't cybernized, like she can't control that, and so you guys keen of eye would see that sits very ill with her, and all of that talk is like almost bordering upon heresy. But she'll compose herself and not like break out or become upset. But yeah, you guys would notice that.
I'm certain that we would be willing to help to hone your abilities.
These elements have been very useful to us in war, but they are raw, untrained, and as you say, you have a better understanding of this new phenomenon. I would be, yes, it's something that we need in our sept.
Well, perhaps it is new to yourselves, but I assure you it is not new to us. You will find no better people to help you than the Alzareen when it comes to that particular issue. Well then, he looks over to Duke Gerard. Duke Gerard of Ozen, Sept Ruldo, would you care to go next? Put your concerns before this council.
Administrator, Praetor, I represent my family's interests primarily into establishing permanency in contracts for our artisans and our craftsmen to continue to flourish. It seems a small thing to ask, but we have reached a terminal point where we can no longer establish or stretch our limits, and our vestments are in need of further support. So we're looking to reach other markets in to establish footholds and anchor points. And what we offer, and I should note before I say this out loud, which I assume many of you assume, but if I do not report back in, then certain instructions will be given. And this sort of give and take of instructions happens daily, sub-daily, and it's how we maintain our network of information. But we have the sisters, the Sewers, and the brothers, the Freyas, that have been married into and consorted out to every great house and in most of the minor houses. There are thousands upon thousands of us married into your families, close to everyone, with their ears open, their eyes open, gathering information, and that's what we offer. an extensive network of information. And all that we're looking for is permanency, legitimacy to further our artistic pursuits and for our world to be left alone.
Yes, it's known that the members of Sept Trithon do not have much appreciation for the finer arts, as you can see, based upon the havoc they've wreaked here on our homeworld. It would be a shame to see such skill lost. And this network of information and spies you mentioned, well, it can be very valuable indeed. Perhaps we could see about allocating resources to removing the garrison from your own world as one of the opening parts of the war, to cut Trithon off from the Ironbone supply. Would this be, if not saying that this is the final offer on the table, but would this be a good starting point for you, Duke?
It would indeed, and we are prepared to remove them ourselves. We just require the support to avoid retribution. We have deep anchors set within that, ready to move at any moment.
He looks over at Praetor Wolfric and he says, "What do you say, Wolfric? Would you be willing to offer up some platoons of your shock troops and your siphons to assist in this liberation of Ozen, free up the Ironbone supply? It's one of Trithon's greatest garrisons, since they covet the materials so much."
It strikes me that it will be necessary, and that none of us can achieve these goals without the help from the others. And so if Grimmar is to gain access to the things that we want, we will have to help everyone else to achieve the things that they want. Symbiotic relationship, which I can understand. As Grimmar stands ready to serve.
And of course, other military resources will be allocated as well. However, I thought that the Praetor had the right to speak for his own house here. What do you say to this, Duke Gerard?
We agree with that, and we accept their formal inclusion in our situation.
Very well. And he looks at you kind of suspiciously, and you can, being a very perceptive man yourself of intrigue and politics, you recognize the look in his eye. He doesn't expect it to be that easy with you. He seems to be waiting for something more as he turns over to look. First his face turns and then his eyes move over to Lady Mia.
There is one other thing.
Ah, he turns his eyes back to you. Says, "Of course."
Praetor, you have a Centurion Luca. I assume you're familiar with him?
I am.
I have to honor a blood oath from my brother John Paul, whom your Centurion killed in an unfair duel.
Unfair?
We found during autopsy that he had been poisoned the week before by a poison that's not found on our planet or on our moon.
There is no
but it
son,
is found.
Not a single son of Sept Grimmar would dare stoop so low.
which is why we request that you give him up to meet me in a fair duel.
Wulfric raises an eyebrow. You would fight the Centurion?
To the first blood, as honor dictates.
I suppose it's a small price to pay for the victory that we will gain.
And Administrator Haradi kind of wipes a little bit of sweat from his brow and sighs audibly and says, well, will that be all for now, Duke Gerard, or do you have any further grievances you wish to raise?
That is all this time.
Very well. Lady Mia, are you ready to give us Sept Inua's petition?
I am. She inclines her head and rises and then addresses you all. Gentlemen, it is no secret that the great strength of Verloren, of Clan Inua, strength is the very same element that is its weakness. Its verdant, abundant, lively biosphere that gives a house its power is also a great target for our enemies, should ever we earn their ire. Trithon should know that Inua openly supports rebellion against them. They need not lift more than a finger to near destroy our world, the natural beauty that we hold sacrosanct, forever defaced, the natural tenets of our religion, of the way, of the breath, she says, all threatened by this war that may perhaps bring us more doom than liberation. So House Inua asks as price for its support that it be not openly declared ally amongst your houses, that we remain in the shadows to seek to support your dissent. And then you shall have your technology, she says, pointing to, not pointing, but looking at Giroud. And you shall have your cybernetics, she says, looking at the Grimmar man. And you shall have our warriors, she says, finishing and looking pointedly at the administrator.
Yes, you have perhaps one of the most interesting martial ways that we have seen in the main orbits. We have particular interest in your stealth fleet. Are you willing to provide that?
No, she says sternly. And before, she can see the furor beginning to rise upon the faces of the men, so she raises a pale, right manicured hand. We would side with House Trithon for all intents and purposes. And of course our stealth fleet would be requisitioned by them on the outset of war, presuming that there is a stoppage in the flow of iron bone, she says, eyes darting, just for a little bit to Duke Giroud. So they would be in the hands of our enemies. They would be close to our enemies. We need not defeat all of House Trithon. Just cut the heads from the Hydra.
Yes, I understand your plight. And I understand your hesitation, your desire to keep your world pure. If we were to go along with this agreement, you provide the technologies requested by our allies here, you would be willing to provide us with information regarding the positions of those ships, seeing as we currently, I wouldn't say that we cannot, we certainly cannot locate all of them at once, and we would have a great trouble dealing with such a fleet if it is fully in the hands of House Trithon. It would give them a great advantage against us.
Although the blade would be wielded by Trithon, she says it is loyal to Enua. It would strike back upon its bearer at the first utterance of my supreme matron. We could coordinate information of this passed down through the network described by Duke Giroud.
He looks at Gerard, and he looks at Wolfric. What do you think, gentlemen, of the lady's proposal?
Long has it been said that the silent blade is the one that strikes best. Although it does make me somewhat hesitant, nervous to have these forces in command of Trithon. What if they do not turn?
At the precise moment when the time calls, many heads will roll, much blood will be spilled, and they will turn. There are consorts and marriages throughout the entire known galaxy.
No orbits, sorry. He looks nervously at Lady Mio, as it seemed like a rather veiled threat coming from the Duke. I mean, not so veiled.
You would have to trust us, Praetor.
Yes, suppose we would. That would be my men on the front line.
Is that not where the brave wish to be? She says, pointing a jibe at the what she perceives to be primitive culture of the Grimoires.
My men are not afraid to die, but I...
Good, she says. As Duke Gerard says, there will be much blood. If all are willing to do their part, then the machine will work. I trust you. Do you trust me?
Wolfric opens up that hip flask that he took with him and takes a long swig before he says something he'll regret and puts it back down. I do.
She looks back to House Alzareen and gives a glassy, thin smile.
Very well. If it is the discretion you require, then you shall receive it. I look forward to future arrangements made, perhaps between people above my own pay grade with your own sept. You have a very interesting way of conducting business, Sept Inua.
You have a very interesting location for the business to be conducted in, Administrator. Though we do what we must.
Yes, well, this meeting was not easy to arrange, and time was of the essence. It is quite unfortunate that the representative from Sept Larkin wasn't able to make it. We could use their merchant caravans. We will have to deal with them in the future. Hopefully, they will still come aboard. However, I would like each of you to have a chance to put forward any requests you may have from them, so that I may pass on the message and we may keep the dialogue moving forward. Lord, Praetor Wolfric, is there anything you wish from Sept Larkin?
I had not thought. We're not much for trade at Grimar.
But they also have some of the most wily smugglers in the known orbits.
This is true. for a
Perhaps
long
there's
time.
something less savory you prefer.
We have. And he leans back in his chair again. He's kind of like not sure if he wants to reveal all of these things here. They do have a network of smugglers. All right. Here's the thing. Battle produces captives, lots of captives, prisoners. Those prisoners are labor, free labor. This is how we have done things in Sept Grimoire for some time. And yet we are overrun with them. There are too many. They labor in the mines, they labor everywhere that we need them to, but they breed, and every battle brings more. And now we need a way to be rid of them, and we would prefer to do that while also making some glint.
Ah, the fortunes of war, is it?
Indeed, these laborers, by the time that we get them, have been broken. They are submissive. They are not dangerous unless we train them to be. And they are quite valuable. We would look upon Sept Larkin favorably if they had a way to transport these helots from our own worlds off to other Septs who might be inclined to use this kind of asset.
I will certainly put your petition forward. I'm certain.
It was our understanding that Sept Larkin signed the Bastion Treaty, forbidding slavery in their orbit.
We're talking about a new age, Lady Mio.
This is not slavery, Lady Mio. It is a different situation. These are battle captives. They are made partial citizens of our worlds. They have a reason to care. It is slavery, perhaps by a different name, but not illegal.
Our enlightened matriarch would offer liberation and freedom to any who wish it. They would never pay for humans.
Well, she could pay for their liberty if she likes.
She nods at that.
As I say, it is meant for those Septs who are inclined to use this kind of service. It is not necessary for the Holy Septanua to get involved. What we need is House Larkin to transport these helots.
Trithon hold us tightly. They treat us as slaves, and so we rebel. Perhaps there is a lesson to be learnt there.
Trithon has not kept us tight enough, I believe, which is why we are able to rebel.
As I said, they've grown complacent. They think that they've capitulated the entire known orbits. They think us all their sheep at this stage, members of their fold. As I said at the opening of this meeting, we aim to prove them wrong. And
then Sept
Lady
Inua
Mio
will allow House Larkin to transport slaves through our space.
I assure you, I could provide classified documents that would show you that Trithon themselves have not been holding to the Accords, at least not behind closed doors.
I think Duke Henri would, by way I reckon it in my head, is sitting closest to Lady Mio, so he would probably notice like the hint of confusion that played out across her face for like a millisecond there when that information came through. As far as her house knows, or as far as she knows, it's clear to Duke Gerard that that Sept had kept to the Accord.
He noticed.
This is troubling, she says.
Well, we've all had our dealings with the Sovereign, but I assure you, none are closer to them than we here in the capital. Duke
Okay.
Gerard, you seem you want to say something.
I have been observing, listening, and evaluating, and now I feel comfortable enough to offer you the insurance that we took out prior to this meeting. And he hands each member, the conciliator, the praetor, and the administrator, he hands each one a small white box. And he says it's safe to open them.
The administrator is holding his and eyeing it suspiciously.
Inside you will find an iron eel bezoar. They're extremely rare, extremely valuable, and each one is marked with a rune. The rune is cryptic and known to none other but our artisans. There's a name on the small piece of paper known only to each one of you. When you return and you find this person, give them the bezoar. In short order. Do not hesitate. This will give you the idea of how far our network goes. You can trust this person from that point on, and anything you need to pass to us, you can pass through them. They will be your link to our family.
The administrator is wide-eyed as he kind of opens the box to look inside. What did the bezoar look like?
A bezoar is a small stone that develops in the stomach of animals, kind of like a pearl inside of an oyster. And it, and these particular ones are a deep green, like a jade, and they're cold. They're naturally cold.
Very interesting. What about your own petition for Sept Larkin?
We only look for the market's firm, permanent footholds and anchors, legitimately established, legally established in each of the various markets that we request.
Seems fair enough, and it seems to be something that Sept Larkin should be able to provide you.
That's all we request.
Very well. Lady Mio, anything for Sept Larkin? Any petition to make to the merchant kings of Bastion?
The Supreme Matriarch would petition House Larkin to, or Sept Larkin, to cease their smuggling, trafficking, and poaching from our verdant planet. Similarly, cease their criminal activities with the backwater moon Dagorad and the hive of scum and villainy Skyhook found there. Trithon has allowed these illegal practices to continue for decades because it is profitable, but it is wrong. It threatens the breath of Voron. We would have a new accord reached with House Larkin, agreeing to these terms and the removal of their, she looks for a better word, merchants from these spheres.
So you wish Valoran and Dagorad to be free from their underhanded dealings and the poaching to cease on your own world. Do I have that correct?
That's right.
If I may,
Please, Praetor.
This moon is a, as you say, a hive of crime. Is it not better that we control that hive, that we are the queen of that hive. If Sept Larkin ceases activities there, what is to stop another enterprising Sept or even criminals themselves from operating it? Then we lose out on the money, we lose out on the power.
Then let us destroy Daggerad, she says, that none can train the rats.
You cut off your nose to spite your face. There's wealth to be
Unsure
had
of that
there.
expression.
There's wealth to be had there and power.
None of us are getting any of it anyway. Most of it has gone to Trithon. Beyond profit, it is immoral and illegal, she says.
Illegal under the rules that Trithon has laid down. With Larkin as one of our partners, we could certainly have stricter laws in place, but why not manage the black market for our own benefit?
The rats of Daggerad do not take anything from your moon, for there is nothing to be taken, she says, though ours is rich and abundant and is often pilfered by these poachers and criminals. Do not feel the sting of their crimes as much. These are our terms for Larkin.
The administrator looks quite uncomfortable. He clears his throat. Well, I can certainly put it forward to the Sept, but I think you may find some there may need to be some compromise. I could see them perhaps removing their operations from Valoran. However, I do not know how they will feel about the destruction or the disbandment of Daggerad.
Well, perhaps with the intervention of House Grimar's, she doesn't want to say lofty, and I don't mean to say it, but I can't think of a better word, lofty ideals or laws or whatever, they can oversee Larkin managing Daggerad to make sure that they do not transgress any further, since they are honourable warrior people. So that combined with, pardon?
Wilford Coulson, he says we would be happy to place a battalion of hunters in orbit around Forloren, if you like, to ensure that no smuggling happens. They have noses like wolves and nothing will go past them.
Better to station your wolves on Daggerad, the hive itself.
If that's what it takes, then we will do so.
Then we agree. House Larkin will remove their enterprises from our moon, and their conduct on Daggerad will be overseen by House Grimar.
Whew. What do you say, Duke Gerard?
The first market that the House Roldo requests, demands, be cleared and monopolized on is our own moon, Ozen. All other family pirates, ventures, mercantile will be removed immediately.
Very well.
We will, in fact, remove the majority of them, but it is the replenishment that we request from the other families to the other septs to follow up on.
A closed economy on Ruldo does nothing to favor the rest of our septs. Such isolationism is useless to us in a post-rebellious state. And useless to you too, should something befall your moon.
We are not requesting to be isolated. We're only requesting that when we collect 100
She means financial
pieces,
isolation.
when we request isolation, we speak only of our iron bone. When we collect 100 pieces of iron bone, We intend to use 100 pieces of iron bone, not have 30, 40, 50 pieces stolen, our hunters killed, our artisans maimed. We request only to be left to our own, to hunt, to manufacture, to produce, to generate our art, and then to offer it to our various established anchor points. So quite the opposite. We're looking to flourish, not isolate.
It sounds like flourish in isolation.
It sounds like you have a lot to say about a lot of things that have nothing to do with you.
This is a meeting, and we're all on the one web. No man is an island, she says, entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the astral sea, bastion is the less, as well as if a promontory were, as well as if a manner of thine own friend or thine own were. Any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee, she says. And so I will speak, for here we are told to.
Nice. But flowery words won't make up for the fact that our main livelihood is being stolen by pirates. So your desire to impose all of your ideals on all the other families, the other septs, the other houses, is taken in context, but breathed out just like a breath.
And how will the mighty warriors of House Grimmer arm themselves if the flow of iron bone ceases?
You would indeed have us at a great disadvantage if you fully control that trade, with no opportunities for others.
Monopoly upon the material most commonly used to make all weapons in the orbits.
Gentlemen,
Did you not agree to our simple request to establish the mercantile as we saw fit to anchor points throughout? I believe agreement was placed on all of those counts. We didn't ask for technology. We didn't ask for people. We didn't ask for funds. We simply asked
for the national resources of your house to be isolated from our orbital market, and things that each of us need that only your planet has in a condensed market.
And at no point did we say that we were not going to continue to offer it to anyone. We offered in good faith that the only thing that we asked for was to be established in mercantile footholds and anchor points throughout all of the known markets. Each of you agreed to it.
The issue.
Now you're looking back and you want stolen resources to be continued to be gained? That hardly seems in good faith.
perhaps there is, again, a compromise can be made. If we work together to cease the illegal seizure of the natural resources of Ozone, and in return, Sept Trithon signs an agreement to offer their wares at fair prices. This way, you no longer lose out on the pirated and otherwise taken materials from your world. You gain from a sale of 100% of the iron bone. You can therefore sell at a fairer price. Would you agree?
Absolutely, as all fair merchants would do.
Yes, but who is to decide what's fair? Duke, who is to decide when you have 100% of the production in your hands? Who is to decide what a fair price is? You and only you.
True. Not me personally.
Such is a monopolized, closed economy, says Mio.
And it is ours to offer. Each of us brought something to the table. This is what we brought. We have this. We want to maintain this. and we offer it freely. We just are tired of being stolen from. It was a simple request.
And what happens, dear Duke, when something does not go your way, a trade agreement, or in the future, a trade agreement does not go your way, or for example, a centurion slights your house from my house? What happens then when you simply withhold all of the ironbone? There is nothing that we can do about it. It is not right that you should have a monopoly on this essential resource.
If I may interject, it would not be in the best interests of House Ruler to take such a dramatic action, especially if they were to lose the support of the rest of the major houses in the known orbits, as House Trithon has. He smiles.
This is but the initial meeting. We established that we wanted mercantile rights only, and that we're requesting rights to our own natural resources. Seems a bit of a bastard in review, as it were. But at no point did we say that we were not going to offer it the iron bone, which in fact is counterproductive. We only wish to offer it. As far as the finer details of contracts and agreements and all that, that's to be decided by lawgivers and debaters, which we are not. We are simply establishing communication and relationships. My sept is known for being honest and forthright and artisans. So we're not known to be thieves. So avoiding any issues of inferred insult, I feel that the rest of it, as long as you agree to what we asked for, the rest of it is just a matter of flowery words and signatures. At no point do we look to take away the iron bone from the rest of the septs.
No, I do not think that you do. I think that you are being honest and forthright, but the issue is that you could, at any moment, should you decide to, withhold this essential resource. And that is what is making House Sept Grimoire so uncomfortable, since we rely on it heavily, that if the production were to stop, he would cripple us.
Surely your Haven of Spies would have told you that our stealth ships are crafted from iron bone. And so if the flow of iron bone is threatened, so too is whatever advantage we can offer to the fight.
We're quite aware of what goes on your stealth ships. And we're quite well aware of what they're made out of. And again, at no point did we threaten. Did we infer any threat? Did we offer any threat? We're simply looking to gather, produce, and offer a resource that is on our planet already. Again, the finer details could be made up later. It's just, you offered men, you offered technology, you offered this, you offered that. We offered information, and we offered iron bone. To be able to offer iron bone, we simply requested there be no piracy. Just as you take great affront to slavery, we take affront to our resources being stolen from our artists, taking food from our babies. Surely you can see that.
What if there was a privateer fleet put in place to hunt these pirates, to ensure that the Ironbone makes it safely from your planet to the various markets?
Great warriors upon stealth ships orbiting Ruldo to make sure that this piracy cannot continue.
Once the pirates are removed, once we come on agreement that no further pirates will enter our moon, we will remove the pirates. As long as they're not replaced, as long as the mother rats do not give any further birth to new rats, that's all we request. All we require is support and keeping the other families and septs that support activities such as slavery and piracy and theft and such. We just want it off of our moon. And with that, what we would agree upon are representatives from the various houses that are in our agreement and our alignment to have a permanent place at our council and to be inspectors and to travel wherever they like on our moon to ensure that the opportunities are equal amongst our union here. That is something that we would allow.
She makes that pursing with her lips like, that doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah, Wolfric is kind of thinking it over. He like scratches his thick white beard.
Without the representative from Sept Larkin here, I cannot speak on their behalf, but I can assure you that I can make this a priority in part of their agreements, that they agree to this accord.
Duke Gerard takes out a small white box and puts it on the table, spinning it. This was intended for House Larkin. It puts me in something of a conundrum. If he doesn't have this marker, there's a price that will be paid. Such is the nature of these clandestine meetings.
Speak plainly. These veiled threats are making me uncomfortable.
I was about to say the same thing.
If the representative from House Larkin does not offer this Bezor to his known person, he will be no more.
The person or the representative?
The representative that was supposed to be here in our clandestine meeting.
You're going to murder him if he doesn't give an animal stone to your spy?
I am going to do no such thing. You took your insurances just as we took insurance. I offered it.
I did not plan assassinations.
I have no such things to speak of. I offered these plainly and in good faith, and now you take insult. You asked what we wanted to contract. I offered it. You accepted. And in good faith, I showed you our insurance, and I offered you safety, and you accepted it. And now you take insult to it.
You make threats on the life of representatives here at this meeting.
I do no such thing. Quite the opposite. I offered life.
Wolfric stands up, like reflexively in the chair, kind of flings out from behind him. He like puts both fists on the table and leans over. Are you telling me, Duke, that if I go back to Grimar and I don't have this stone with me, I would be no more, to put it in your words? What does that mean?
He shrugs his shoulders. At this point, I'm merely a representative, a cog in the machine.
He smashes his fist into the table. Boom! Speak plainly!
You are a known military individual, a warrior. You're used to dealing with things that are directly in front of you. We, on the other hand, are artisans and dealers in shadows, information. And those same shadows, sometimes they hold vipers, sometimes they hold treasures.
Wolfric looks like with bewilderment at the other two representatives.
Yeah, it's a shared bewilderment upon Mio's face. She'll rise and press a button on her brooch, and the glass dress kind of forms about her, and the gown flows out from her wig with like these glacial chinks and jinks. And her face like slowly turns from bewilderment to steel. Someone in the shadow should beware they do not get swallowed there, she says, and there's cold iron in her voice. She does not like the idea that this animal stone before her has to be given to some spy so that she doesn't get killed by a viper in the dark or some other washed up conjuration.
Now it's completely up to you who the person is on the other end of that paper, but know that the person that is there is somebody that's very important to you individually as the characters. So it could be the nanny over your children. It could be your personal consort. It could be the aide that you've had for the last 15 years. It could be your cook. It could be your mother-in-law. Yeah, these are all people that are important in your life. So the idea of calling them spies is a curious one.
I'm confused. Aren't they people that you planted there? That's a fucking spy, right?
I believe that you'll find that the vast majority of these were requested by contract or established through marriage, and that this kept their familial ties. You all speak as if you're. I'm the youngest one here. Clearly, I'm a new duke, and yet you pretend like it's the moons and all above or float around in some equitable sea of justice. That's just not the way of the world. Our family, our Sept,
Evidently.
deals with information. This is not something new. You knew this coming into this. We each know about each other. Well, I don't understand the surprise. It's like eating a piece of steak and saying, it tastes like meat. I'm so surprised. I've offered you nothing but goodwill, honest trade, and I paid for your insurance.
And
This is a
threatened our
clandestine
potential
meeting.
allies in this rebellion.
Our family was asked to meet in a back alley in some dark alcove of a slum. That required insurance. That you did not take the insurance, that you did not come with guards, did you not take any steps to ensure your safety, that's completely on you.
Am I to understand that if the representative from Sept Alzareen goes to where he's going to go without this bone, that he will be dead?
At this point, why is that person not here at this so important meeting?
I'm going to ask you once to stop answering my questions with questions.
I'm going to answer your question, but I need more information. Is he not here because he's turning us in? Is he not here because he was found out to be a traitor?
Someone with the power to kill someone should know before they act. We do not know if he was waylaid. We do not know if there is treachery. We do not know if there is happenstance or some other yet hitherto foreseen circumstance which would delay or postpone him, the Larkin representative in this meeting.
The administrator
died at the hands of a slave because of this. Punctuality is more than regrettable.
The administrator has been tapping away at that bracer on his left arm. And he says, I have people looking for the representative from Sept Alzareen now, and I've been in touch with the Sept. We are also not pleased with his tardiness. If he meets an ill fate as a result, then it's upon his own head. However, I would ask you, Duke, how much time does he have? Is it known?
It is. He has the amount of time that's required to get him back home to have a respite and then start the day. 48, 50 hours.
Very well. I will pass this information along.
Will
He
any of
reaches
you
out.
will any of you stand up for this missing representative? Will you put your blood on the line to call forth this insurance? I just met each of you just now, and you're asking me to accept what? That he's not a traitor?
It's possible. It's definitely possible. What about this box? Should I take it on his behalf? Or is doing so... And he looks... He reached for it for a second, and then he pulls his hand back, and now he looks apprehensive.
Let me put it to you in another way, the conciliator and the praetor. If you sat before, in judgment of one of your own, someone important, say it was a courts martial, which we all know is just a gathering of information, not always punitive. Something has to be decided. Say a general or a supreme inquisitor, and they don't show up for their assigned meeting, for their assigned court martial. They just don't show up. What happens next? Something casual? Something nice? Do they find him and hold this person's hand and bring him in? Do they offer them wine? Or do they immediately seek to secure this individual and establish some sort of punishment?
You speak only in
As if
questions.
you're a judge.
You bring somebody up for court martial, they don't show up for their court martial, sentence is given.
This is not a court martial. You are not a judge. You're an ironbone merchant and a spy keeper.
I represent one of the greater houses, one of the greater septs. I'm not just a merchant or an artist, just as you are not. We were requested to come here in this clandestine meeting, which we have to keep reiterating, which I don't understand. It was just insurance. It was just insurance. An insurance that was offered in good faith.
The insurance that you have taken out is not given in good faith. It implies that you have put things in place that would end our lives if we do not come back with these bricks. That this representative from Sept Larkin is not here is troubling for all of us. I have stated that already. I do not find it correct. I find it troubling. And dealings with Sept Larkin from here on out will be more tense when dealing with Sept Brimar. However, the issue that I have taken is with these threats that you have made upon my life.
There is threat upon life when you wake up. There's threat upon life when you enter the shower.
Oh, shut your mouth with your nonsense. Non-stop questions and riddles. Have you sent or set up an assassination if I don't come back with this fucking brick?
I have offered you an extremely valuable
Yes or
artifact
no?
for my people. Clearly, you will not be injured in any way. All you have to do is present this bit of information, this bit of
if I don't-
stuff.
Karate chops the stone off her bench onto the ground before the administrator.
Whoa.
If I
Fair
don't-
enough.
Starts a bit.
The stone's not damaged. It's extremely hard.
If I don't come back with this stone, if I leave it here or throw it in the bin, what happens?
He just smiles.
I'm leaving, administrator. And she rises and presses a final button on her brooch, begins to shimmer. No pomp or ceremony.
I have no time for these threats upon my life.
Duke Gerard will give a gentle bow and a small curtsy.
What about you, Praetor? Will you take the box?
I will be in communication with representatives from my house. I will leave this box here. And if the price is my life to show the treachery of this other house, Roldo, then so be it.
Again, a slight bow.
I am happy to continue negotiations with Sept Alzareen and Sept Anua, but this threat and this continued avoidance of answering simple yes or no questions has incensed me, and I cannot be around this person.
So, as a representative of my Sept, I'm to take it that you are withdrawing support?
You would rather have House Grimmar and Sept Grimmar and Sept Anua withdraw support than give a simple answer to the questions that we are asking.
Is it that the answer was not given or the answer was not understood?
The answer was not given. You smile and obfuscate every time we ask a question.
If you do not give the stone to the person who is intended to get it, you will die.
Wolfric sits back down. Did that really need 15 minutes of discussion?
To be completely honest, my friend, I thought I had already answered that. I'm not used to speaking so plainly, which is our culture.
I'm not your fucking friend.
But
Gentlemen.
you could be.
Gentlemen, please. And Nick, I might take it, Lady Mio has already left, yes?
Yes.
Okay. The administrator reaches down and picks up the box that Lady Mio knocked on the floor down by his feet and says, well, this is troubling then. The representatives of two of our great houses face assassination.
Here is the new deal, if you want Grimmar involved in this. Sept Roldo and their ownership of the Iron Bone is unacceptable when they make threats on my life and the life of other Sept leaders. I will not tolerate it. They are not a great military power, but combined, Sept Grimmar and Sept Anua are well capable of taking whatever they want from that moon. And so you will pay a tithe, a heavy tithe, to both Sept Grimmar and Sept Anua if you want us in on this, Sept Roldo.
Now it is your turn to speak plainly.
I believe I was quite clear.
So you're withdrawing support?
I will not make deals with you, particularly deals that favor you, since it's clear that you cannot be trusted.
If it was clear that I could not be trusted, and therefore that the house could not be trusted, the Sept, I wouldn't have told you about the stone. I would have just dealt with it behind closed doors with little notes and little whispers. This was all an exercise to express how deep our network is. That you did not receive that you did not understand that. It's clear that we should choose a different way to express it. But we don't have the military might that you noted. We don't have the great shadowy ships that float from here to there. What we do have is the ability to affect people. We have the ability to gain information, and we have the ability to use the information. That we haven't done so that you know of so far. That's clearly how our family operates. At no point was any threat given to you. I just mentioned that there was a threat. I mentioned a person that was close to you. I told you that you would die. But it was all a test. It was just an expression of opportunity that to provide insurance, nothing more.
Representative from Sept Trithon, where I come from, when you tell a man that he is going to die because of actions he will put in place, that is a threat and it is a cause for violence.
And it got your attention. It got your respect. You clearly understand that it could happen. We had no intention on harming anyone in this room. If we were going to do so, we wouldn't have told you, clearly. It was just a token, an expression of opportunity. That we could do it, anyone could do it. Anyone has spies, everyone has assassins, everyone has information gatherers. We just do it better. And all I did was put my cards on the table and show you how it could happen. No, we weren't going to kill any representatives from this, but the opportunity is that we could have. And the houses that the septs that we don't call into our confidence, these are things that could happen. All that the stone will do when you give it to the person in question is tell them that you have gained our full loyalty. Nothing more. This is how communication is done. This is how different cultures interact. You show your cards, I show mine. We come to some sort of understanding.
I think you've made your case quite clear, Duke Gerard. I will try to make contact with the Inuit further, see if I may return this to them. And I will take this one as well on behalf of Sept Larkin. And as soon as they're...
No, you won't. I need the one from Larkin back. Until we have made contact with them, until we have established some further credentials, until we have done some further research, they do not have our confidence of our house. Our sept is not within their sept. The lady, the shimmering lady, she may have hers, of course.
As you wish, and he'll slide the white box across the table to you.
Perhaps we could bring the lady back here. Since we are all here, it was difficult to get here. It was difficult to plan this meeting. We are all here. We might as well try and make the most of it. Perhaps we could convince her.
Will Lady Neo respond to a communication, Nick?
I'd say she'd be off-world if possible by now.
In like 5-10 minutes?
You have stealth ships.
Yeah, I mean, the house's reach is great, so I think it's possible for sure.
We'll assume that she's not responding to any communications. Well, the concerns and conditions have been laid out by each of our septs. I think there is nothing further to be gained here today. We will be in further contact with each of your great houses. Perhaps we shall all meet again somewhere, someday, or perhaps not. In the meantime, I can assure you that Sept Alzareen is committed to seeing that each of your concerns are addressed and that your support is brought in for our efforts. One thing we do have, aside from our proximity to the sovereign, is access to great resources, financial resources particularly, and then the Astra.
Indeed.
I hope that if we do meet again, it shall be in much less tense circumstances.
And Praetor, the Centurion, you still honoring the meeting with the Centurion?
He takes a deep breath in, and then he snorts a snot rocket from his nose onto the ground. I'll tell him. What he decides to do is his own fucking business.
And a slight bow from the Duke.
Then on behalf of Sept Alzareen, I declare this meeting adjourned. Good luck, gentlemen. May Bastion's grace guide you.
Wolfric stands with a servo leg. Administrator Haradi, a pleasure. Duke, and then he leaves.
Well, Administrator, you seem of a more level head. What do you take of this Larkin situation?
It troubles me greatly. I share your concerns. The only advantage, since he did not arrive, is that he does not know what has transpired here. But we will have to be very careful in dealings with Larkin from here forward. I will keep you informed as to what we find out about his location, the meanings for his delay or absence. But
I am curious if your information will line up with our information.
as am I.
In good faith, I will stay here. Not in this immediate room, but I will stay within communication until I find out what I can find out, and I will provide that to you as well.
That is greatly appreciated. It seems likely that Ozen will be the opening theater of this rebellion.
Indeed. And it appears that House Larkin, that the Sept representative, may be the first bloodied if the information does not play out correctly.
He smiles and says, "The fortunes of war also come with misfortunes." And at that, we will end this session.
Administrator?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Administrator, before you go, make sure you give the Bezor to that person.
Oh, I am no fool. Do not worry. And I will see what I can do about delivering this one to Inua.
And very good. Low bow.
All right, guys. Thanks for playing.
Oh boy.
Thank you.
Thanks,
That
Ed.
was really cool. Anybody who watched, thank you for watching the session. This was pretty much nearly 100% improv, so well done, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And, I got a lot of ideas now to prepare for the other episodes that will take part in this series. So thanks for your contribution, guys. I greatly appreciate it.
Nice.
No worries.
Good game, guys.
Yeah, nice one.
Indeed. Again, I wasn't for sure wasn't playing any kind of chuckle fuck. This is how he was